Morning, all. So we're back. I think this is the first time in a long time I've been able to do like two like consistent lives. Every time we start off, something happens, and I don't end up doing it. But very happy to be here. Second week in a row with our weekly, what is supposed to be the weekly live stream. So welcome back to MECYS Matters. As usual, the hot drink is coffee. There should be additives in it, but there's not. Um, and there's no real official hot take today. I just wanted to talk a bit about yesterday. Yesterday was the first day of school for many students. I know some high schools are starting later this week. But yesterday, I had the privilege of surprise visiting our public schools and wishing teachers, parents, and students a happy first day and a welcome back for the new school year. Sorry. Um, there's some more technical updates later on, regarding education in the first day of school. But I want to use this segment today to thank all the parents and guardians who came to the schools, to see their kids off. I think I was able to see some of you at Martin Luther King Jr. School, which was my first stop, and then the other schools I visited told me they were very happy that there was a great turnout of parents and or guardians showing up, for their students. And this is heartwarming for me because this is the village that I've been speaking of. And it's also great to see other colleagues, both in the Council of Ministers and across the street in Parliament, kind of echo my sentiments of education being a community effort. So I want to thank them for their support on that messaging, and just to say that maybe that is the hot take, that we have to continue this notion of we're all responsible for the development of every child in St. Martin. Even if whether you have kids or you don't have kids, in particular if you have kids, you should care the most about how other people's kids are doing as well, because that is actually community and that is actually the village. So thank you to all those parents, aunts, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers, legal guardians that showed up yesterday. All the kids looked super excited. I have to say, I only heard from one public school that there were a lot of tears. I have one more to visit today. Couldn't make it to Lynn O'Connor School in KB due to a meeting that I had. So to get over the hill and back was not going to work out. But I will pass by there today, and I hope that they had a good time as well with not that many tears. I ain't gonna lie, at MLK, there was one little boy who pretty much looked like if he could articulate it, he would be like, "Mom, I'm good. Please just get in the car and leave me alone." But yeah, so that was good to see. Of course, you also still had some tears from some kids who were maybe heading off for the first day, not having been away from their parents or so. So yeah, so that was a very cool experience for me. And don't forget, if your company, or a company that you know wants to engage in a public-private partnership with Division Public Education and the ministry as a whole, you can do so by reaching out to a public school manager who will then send it on to DPE and my cabinet. This is the continuation of the procedure that I've outlined several times on the floor of Parliament as well as in the media. And I want to thank those companies that have engaged with the ministry and DPE under these procedures in good faith and cooperation. Moving on to today's word of the day. The word of the day is brought to you by Merriam-Webster Dictionary, so let's get into it. And it's actually one of my favorite words, oxymoron. An oxymoron is a combination of words that have opposite or very different meanings, such as cruel kindness or open secret or public secret. In broader usage, oxymoron can also refer to something, such as a concept, that is made up of contradictory or incongruous elements. For example, some of Shakespeare's most famous plays are filled with oxymorons such as loving hate and tragical mirth. Where it came from, so like most words, many words we have today, the ancient Greeks exhaustively classified the elements of rhetoric or effective speech and writing and gave the name oxymoron, literally pointed foolishness, to the deliberate juxtaposing of seemingly contradictory words. So the roots of oxymoron come from oxys, meaning sharp or keen, and moros, meaning foolish. They're nearly antonyms themselves, meaning making oxymoron very nicely self-descriptive. So the word itself is an oxymoron. Oxymoron originally applied to a meaningful paradox condensed into a couple of words, as in lonely crowd or sweet sorrow. Today, however, what is commonly cited as an oxymoron is often simply a curiosity of language, where one or both elements have multiple meanings, So, like shrimp in jumbo shrimp doesn't mean small. It refers to the sea creature, or a phrase whose elements seem antithetical in spirit, such as organized chaos, which is a thing. And if you've ever been to my office, you will know that it is organized chaos. So, oxymoron is a word I love. Many people end up speaking in oxymoronically, and they don't even know it, probably because they don't know the meaning of the word oxymoron. So, that was today's word of the day. In the gaming round, um, I've been playing Overwatch, as some of you have discovered, after following my TikTok last week. But last week also was a milestone for Microsoft because Xbox celebrated 25 years of existence, and that made me feel really old. Number one, but number two, it also allowed me to kind of marvel at how far we've come in the gaming space. And I just hope that there's a few really cool games coming out. Of course, November is GTA 6. I don't want to see nobody under the age of 18 on GTA 6. Do not try to add me to ask me to play. I'm not doing it if you're under 18, because I don't even let the kids in my life play these games before a certain age. But nevertheless, GTA 6 is coming out. And I think I want to there's a lot of power behind Rockstar in the sense of so many games move their release date so they don't have to compete with GTA 6. Like I was watching a video yesterday where Fable was supposed to launch this year, and they were like, you know what, actually, February 20th, I'd rather just take my chances with, the Valentine's Day rush than deal with going up against GTA sales juggernaut. So that was pretty cool, I think, and I think I'm looking forward to that. I've been usually playing some city builders recently and Overwatch, so just taking it easy in the gaming space. I did get Mafia: The Old Country. I kind of started that a bit last night, but then I had to go to sleep because I had the gym this morning. So yeah. Moving into our main topics, our main updates. The short story contest submissions are open, as you know, for the Dame Rebutte annual national short story contest. You have until this Saturday, August 21st, to submit. I know people are coming back from summer. The kids have not been reading, have not been writing anything over the summer. We may extend it a couple days, but nevertheless, this Saturday is the first deadline to submit your story. Stories can be between 750 and 3,000 words, and winners are going to be announced on September 8th in recognition of International Literacy Day. This year's theme, as you know, is Beats, Bites, and Bacchanal. So, inviting students to imagine Carnival in the year 2050, exploring how AI and all this technology can help shape the future of our most celebrated cultural tradition while holding on to that sense of what Carnival is. So, basically, showing how innovation and Carnival can coexist. You can submit your entries to, I believe it's National Short Story at stmartingov.org, St. Martin with SINTMAART, and gov.org. And looking forward to reading some of you guys your entries. Next would have been the trust fund update, but we don't have any. You can drive right by Sister Marie Laurence in Meridian if you want to see the progress there. I believe the last few foundation slabs should be being laid down soon, and then they're going to start going up, up, up with the construction of that school. The Charles Leopold Bell tender, I can't really say anything about it anymore from what my last update was, but it's looking positive. And then FRLP, of course, under that, you have Charles Leopold Bell and the library and SML, as well as the MMIS. And MMIS is the Ministry Management Information System. So that project is also progressing. I realize we don't talk a lot about that. That's more for like, making sure our data is centralized and how do we track a student's progress over their academic career. So, and for the library, I think I saw a tentative date for a groundbreaking in my calendar, but I would have to check. But I'm pretty sure I saw it, which is very exciting for me because we need the library back ASAP, Rocky. Last week I talked a bit about the travel I had just come back from. Today I'm just going to briefly mention the travel that is coming up. So in November, I'll be attending a regional conference on boys education, which is co-organized with UNESCO. As you know, we have a Secretary General for UNESCO within the ministry. That will take place in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And then that's a conference that I was actually meant to attend last year, but Hurricane Melissa had other plans, so it was eventually canceled for 2025. And then For Parliament, the public handling of Budget 2026 commences on Thursday. And by tomorrow, I hope to have the questions and answers from MECYS posted. On Thursday, ministers will present their respective budgets and policy priorities. And then we go into, of course, questions in round one from the members of Parliament. So tune in for that. I think we start at 1 p.m. on Thursday, and we go in a certain order, which has not yet been communicated to us. But nevertheless, 1 p.m. on Thursday, you will get to tune in to the ministers doing their presentations for the budgets. And then, in terms of education updates, yesterday, I'm gonna answer your questions after. Well, I can answer that now. When will Duo study debt be abolished? We have no control over that. Duo is financing that you get from the Dutch government that you're entitled to as a Dutch citizen. But St. Martin doesn't have any say on that particular set of debt. That's why I always kind of urge students to focus on finishing their study as soon as possible. Because of course, the less time you take with your study, the less debt you actually incur with Duo. But that would be the same with any study financing or program, scholarship program here in the Netherlands, in the US, etc. So Duo is not something that we control. We can collaborate with Duo to make it easier, which you've seen over the years. Government has gotten to a point where now Duo does more frequent sessions on the island. Can it be a bit better, the communication? Most definitely, and that's something that we hope to be able to accomplish. But as for abolishing it entirely, that's not something that's in the power of this government to do, or any Samaritan government, to be honest. So yeah, back to education. Yesterday, I attended an online presentation of CXC and CAPE results. This was a regional meeting, so you had representatives of the ministries of education from across the Caribbean region. I have to say there was some positive reporting, some positive improvements reported in literacy and mathematics. Not too great on digital literacy, which is actually a subject I believe that they have in some of the CXC countries. But there's still a ways to go before we see the types of successful percentages that we had over a decade and change ago. So there is that. And then next, so I had plans to focus on what was essentially a negative point for the ministry on Friday. And that is the article outlining works done at the Rania School ahead of yesterday's first day. Now, if you read the article with a critical eye, you'll notice many contextual points were missing. And while I don't like to think crooked before I think straight, it truly felt like they were purposely left out. But after yesterday's great first day of school and the measurable progress that we have actually made in MECYS since 2024, I'm instead choosing to focus on that positive while sharing with the public some truths that I think we still have a hard time grasping. And I kind of want to also put everyone on notice about a few things, namely, we do a word of the day here on the live to improve and enhance people's vocabulary, because sometimes you may not know what a word means. And I think it's important to know what words mean instead of using them willy-nilly. We've heard words like infestation, structural collapse, etc., when talking about the public schools. And unless someone has a master's degree or PhD in environmental or any other engineering, what you're basically doing is just blowing a dog whistle when you say things like that. It's sensationalism. And unlike many other professions, engineering is one of those where it does matter if you have a degree, and it matters how you earn that degree. So we know well enough which public schools has actual structural faults. And there is, as I've shared, a public tender coming to address that. And we know that that school is the Ruby La Vega School roof. This is something I've talked about in Parliament. I've talked about on the live. This is what happens when we have decades of poor construction practices. A good example I can give you is inspection we did with a doctorate in environmental engineering at the Marie Genevieve de Weaver School, where you can see that back then the practice was to use cement with beach sand. Over time, that is something that is going to deteriorate, but there's no, the structural integrity of the building is not compromised. We've even seen works done, I think in the 90s or so, because remember, that school is also two buildings fused together. And so you see some instances where balcony railings were put down with very poorly laid concrete and plaster, and now water has gotten under and is lifting the concrete. So yeah, at a certain point in time, I just think it's important that we recognize that words, have an impact. I try to keep that in mind as minister, and I think everybody should keep that in mind when we talk about our schools, our kids, and our education ecosystem on a whole. And I think as well, and I can't stress this enough, take into consideration the historical context of the decisions or lack thereof that have brought us here today. And it's funny because, if you're like my father or some other political history buffs, you may have random clippings from the Guardian, the Chronicle, the Today newspaper, the early days of the Daily Herald that would properly outline how we got here, not just with regards to ECYS, but with everything. I think it's important to look at those decisions, and that, you also have this kind of dog whistle deflection tactic that's used where persons say, well, you can't keep looking at the past. You can actually. That's how you learn how to do better in the future. So I think it's very important to note that there are decisions made decades, even some over, that continue to have an impact today and have led to a fragmentation in our educational ecosystem that our kids have always felt, but now you're feeling on a grander scale because much like the cement and the beat sand, it's coming to sort of end of life or end of viability with how it's been going so far, which is why we're constantly looking at reforms, which do take time. They don't happen overnight because, what was made, a decision made 60 years ago, nothing was ever done to correct or adapt for the evolving reality facing St. Martin. It's no secret that we have systemically and historically underfunded public education. And it's nice to scream about why we don't have more money when 68 people who barely speak Spanish continue to fly to every committee and General Assembly they can get to with absolutely no return on investment for it. So I urge you to think about that when persons are screaming about there's no money in public education. We make the decisions with what we have as best we can. And the main reason I brought up that article is because I know that there are very hardworking people in this ministry, and I don't appreciate when the community or even the media, without checking for comment from the minister, by the way, continue to make it seem as though they're not doing their job, especially in public education. As an example, in the United States, in other islands, public education has a staff of maybe 40 people in administration. I'm not talking about teachers and school managers or whatever. I'm talking about in their administrative structure, in their government, they have 30, 35 people working on public administration. That's HR, that's finance, that's management, that's subject coordinators, that's inspectors, et cetera, et cetera. We have maybe 10, maybe, yeah. And it's simply not enough. I'm here to tell you it's not enough. So yeah, and then you get the ever-going cycle of we don't have money to hire persons, or there was money to hire persons, and way back before my time, someone decided to do a pet project, whether it was unnecessary gazebo construction or so, and then spent money that maybe we should not have spent. So that's what I want to put out there. That's the context we all have to be operating in on St. Martin. Because this has been a runaway train for the better part of 5 decades, and it's very hard to get a runaway train back under control. But we've made great strides internally in the ministry to do exactly that. So again, I say, if you're a company or a person who wants to engage in good faith and cooperation, knowing the historical context of the realities of the ministry, feel free to reach out to the ministry, Division Public Education, or via a school manager that you may know, and they will reach out to Division Public Education. And I answer my emails very quickly. Next, sports. Softball season is on. I am trying to squeeze in a game, hopefully around budget, because I will need the time to decompress after that shenaniganry. But also don't forget that every Monday and Thursday, there's NSI's activation walk run event at the Royal Elite Sports Complex. And the community is invited to join in. You stretch to start, you walk or run your way around the track, and then you do a little wind down stretch to end off. And that is where I usually have a challenge, the stretching part. In terms of youth, youth cabinet sessions will be resuming soon, and I'd like to use this opportunity, since I know some of you follow via the TikTok. This is a call to students at MPC, St. Martin Academy, Academic, and VBC, and St. Dominic High School, that if you and a friend or a classmate want to join youth cabinet, hit me or the ministry's social pages up directly. And you can, possibly be added to the cabinet for this upcoming year. We try not to take students in exam class. If you believe you can handle it, by all means. But if you don't and if you can't, no hard feelings. Youth cabinet is a space where young people can actually set the agenda of the meetings that they have with me, to discuss the things that actually are important to them and that they believe are impacting them. So I'm very happy to be able to create that space for them, moving forward as well into this year. So yes, just hit me up. You all know how to find me when you want to ask if I'm closing school when two raindrops fall. So you can find me for this too. On the culture side, just as a reminder that St. Martin Day is being organized this year by the Collectivité of St. Martin, the French side. So I'm very interested to see what our neighbors to the north cook up. This is just a constant reminder so that when the time rolls around, no one asks. The agreement has always been that government, there will be no official anything done on the side that is not hosting. So, for example, last year we had all the official stuff on the Dutch side. We had the wreath laying at the Border Monument. Then we had the cultural parade, and then we had speeches and so forth in the festival village. So this time around, as the French side is responsible for hosting, we will not be planning any of those things before I come for me and say that the ministry ain't doing nothing for St. Martin Day. That is the agreement that we have with the collectivité. So just bear that in mind. And then in closing, it's still hurricane season. Thanks to the Sahara dust for killing off those two waves. We may not have been able to breathe properly, but at least we were not inundated with rain and wind. However, it's still hurricane season. We're still coming up to the peak of it, and we have until November to go. So stay prepared as always. We don't want to be caught unawares. This can sometimes happen. And before I log off, I wanted to address, I saw the comment, and I know that certain folks in the live are going to say, you should just ignore it. But I want to say about this is what government has come to. Yeah, so the TikTok live, government has a responsibility to reach as many people as possible. And I doubt you tune in to press briefing on Wednesdays. I myself barely go to press briefing because we don't have media that really goes to press briefing. So this plus YouTube and other avenues are ways to reach the people, which is part of the responsibility of any government to communicate with the people where the people are communicating with each other and with their government. So I just wanted to toss that out there, so that everybody knows that's why we actually do these things. And yes, who vex lose indeed. So thank you again. Next week we'll probably be back. Will we be back? If we're not in Parliament, we will be back. So like I said, we start on Thursday. Sometimes budget can take 3 to 4 business days to wrap up. If you've ever tuned into a budget debate, we're usually there till pretty late at night. So we will see how it goes Thursday and Friday, and then probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we will need again to wrap it up. It is the 2026 budget. Anyone with sense would know that at August is not the time to be asking a ton of questions, and you should instead prepare yourself for 2027 budget, which is also almost done through the process to be able to go for its central committee handling, followed by its public handling. So thanks again, and tune in on Thursday for the budget presentation. And I'll be providing some really broken down information about the ministry's budget and about how it's actually segmented across the different areas of education, culture, youth, and sport. And that way it will maybe help persons see, why things are the way they are. So